To begin with, we have this concept of the people from other planets as little green men. Are they green from what you know? Are they all the same?
Unfortunately, they're not so benevolent.
A fucking alien.
What's good? Welcome Air 51 here with your host Jimmy. Another day in the jungle. Give us a like, subscribe, and also become part of our community here in goldenarrowboxing.com for more news and stories. All right, so let's get to this video real quick. So I already gave my prediction. I already told you who I believe is going to win this fight between Naoya Inoue and Stephen Fulton, which is going to be July the 25th. You can check that in my previous videos. I break them down how this fight is going to go. And one of the interesting things about this fight is that a lot of the Naoya Inoue fans keep repeating the same thing over and over again. They don't really break down the fight. They just tell you one thing is that Naoya Inoue is going to catch Stephen Fulton. He's going to knock him out, right? He has the precision to do so because he is a good fighter, right? Now, there are technical aspects of Naoya Inoue that I haven't seen. First of all, I don't know if he can fight going backwards. I haven't seen any of his fights where he really relies on that sort of technique. And I know Stephen Fulton can definitely fight backwards. And that's a very high technique in the boxing world to learn. Anybody who knows boxing knows that fighting backwards is really hard indeed. But people overstate this fact of Naoya Inoue's power. I think this is overstated. And the reason is because Naoya Inoue is not Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder is a one-hitter quitter. Okay? Deontay Wilder is a one-hitter quitter. George Foreman was a one-hitter quitter. When George Foreman threw his right hand, you were gone. It was over. Billy Fox was also like that as well. And there'd be many fighters who had that one knockout power. Naoya Inoue is a pressure puncher, which is different. A pressure puncher is a fighter that goes forward. He releases his punches. He's accurate with them. They tend to be accurate punchers, and then breaks you down in the process. It takes time to build up, depending on the opposition, because when the level of opposition goes up, the level of knockdowns goes down. Okay, knockouts. But that's the sort of fighter that Naoya Inoue is. Give an example who Naoya Inoue is. He's Rocky Marciano style of fighter. He goes there, he throws his punches, hurts you, and then breaks you down. He is like Jake LaMotta. Jake LaMotta used pressure to break you down. He is a fighter like, let's say, Gerald McQuillan, which I'll go back in a second, actually, now that I think about it. Gerald McQuillan went there, destroyed you, right? He is like actually Sergey Kovalev. Sergey Kovalev applied that sort of pressure against his opponent. If you saw the fights against Jean Pascal, you could clearly say that Sergey Kovalev was applying that pressure, and it was the will of the strongest. But he's not a Deontay Wilder. He can't just go and throw one punch and destroy Stephen Fulton. And Stephen Fulton is the type of fighter that even though he does have low knockouts, he can still win this fight if he boxes well without a problem. Going back to Gerald McQuillan, if anybody knows who Gerald McQuillan was Errol Spence on steroids. This guy was an absolute destroyer. Gerald McQuillan was, the guy, wow. I like Julian Jackson, but Gerald McQuillan, man, he was the man. And Gerald McQuillan fought Dennis Milton, who didn't have a lot of knockouts. And he lost that fight. And he also fought Ralph Ward right afterwards, who had like 2 knockouts in his whole career. And he was able to beat Gerald McQuillan via unanimous decision. I recommend that you watch that fight. after that, Gerald McQuillan learned his lesson and then started to box more and keep doing that pressure, but he started to really change the way that he fought. And in the end of the day, if you watch that fight, you realize that Ralph Ward, why was he able to beat the destroyed Gerald McQuillan? Gerald McQuillan was the favorite for the fight. Against Dennis Milton, he was the favorite of the fight as well. Was because he was able to apply certain aspects of his game. The clinch, the jab, moving, not getting caught from a much more powerful boxer. When you look at the fights of somebody like Arthur Beterbiev, who's also a pressure puncher too, he has the Canadian style of boxing. He has a similar style. It's not like similar. There's a few differences. I think he actually boxes better than Naoya Inoue, to be honest, especially with the level of opposition that he's had. Fighting fighters like Gozvik, that's a sort of fight that Naoya Inoue hasn't been in yet. But he, to me, is the best pressure puncher that I've seen in the game so far. I like Arthur Beterbiev. I like his style. He even though he's old, he does have the power and carries the power as he's punching through. But Naoya Inoue is more limited than Arthur Beterbiev in his pressure boxing style. And the opposition that Naoya Inoue fought is not to be compared with the opposition that Arthur Beterbiev has fought. And not only that, but I'll put it this way. Julio Cesar Chavez, when he fought, it was Frankie Randall, if I'm mistaken. Yeah, it was Frankie Randall. He actually had a lot of trouble in his first fight against Frankie Randall. I mean, he did knock him down in the 11th round. That's how he got the split decision. But he was getting pretty much outboxed in the entire fight. Okay, and a lot of people thought that was a robbery. I mean, I think it was a close fight, but would I give it to Frankie Randall? Well, probably. Then eventually he fights him, in Mexico. I thought that was his last fight, and then almost his last fight, and then he beats him unanimous decision. But the first fight was a very close fight, and Chavez was definitely not the underdog in this fight. It was Frankie who was the underdog. So Stephen Fulton is way more technical than, for example, Paul Butler. Naoya Inoue was able to beat Paul Butler because he was applying that pressure, and Paul Butler was trying to throw combinations that he couldn't throw because he didn't have the technique to do so. But Stephen Fulton will have that technique, and he was able to survive to the 11th round. When you face power punchers like Deontay Wilder, in any given second, he just needs one punch. He doesn't need to accumulate punches, and one punch, he's gonna destroy you. Now, Naoya Inoue is a much better puncher. I mean, not a much better puncher, but a much better boxer than Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder doesn't have, in my opinion, the skill set of Naoya Inoue. But that's the difference. You can always outbox Deontay Wilder, and he just needs 1 second and it's over. With Naoya Inoue, he needs to catch these opponents and break them down. And the problem with that is going to be that Stephen Fulton is not going to allow Naoya Inoue to hit those combinations regularly or with the same easiness, okay, that he's been able to hurt other opponents because they don't know how to clinch, they don't know how to use their defense, they don't know how to move in angles, they don't know how to move bilaterally, they don't know how to. They really, a lot of the opponents that Naoya Inoue fought, they really have no defense, or their defense is very shaky. Had he fought a fighter like Rigondeaux in his prime, Rigondeaux in his prime would have, in my opinion, destroyed Naoya Inoue. But he hasn't fought a fighter like that. So you keep saying this about power, But power doesn't really mean anything. I mean, Floyd Mayweather Jr. was less powerful than Manny Pacquiao, and Manny Pacquiao couldn't beat him. In fact, if you look at the last fight that Fulton had against Brandon Figueroa had more power than Fulton, and he still wasn't able to beat him. And his style of boxing, Brandon Figueroa's style of boxing, is a complicated one. He can give trouble to any fighter. So when you keep saying power doesn't mean anything if you cannot catch your opponent. Precision doesn't mean anything if the opponent is breaking down your rhythm. Precision, in fact, doesn't mean anything if the level of quality is higher and now you cannot not knock out or knock down these opponents that you're facing. So the question really is, if Naoya Inoue has the IQ, see, that's what it's going to come down to. Does he have a higher IQ than Stephon Fulton in the ring? Is he able to throw combinations in angles? Is he able to do that? Now, people say Naoya Inoue has a very unorthodox style of fighting. Yeah, that sounds good. But I don't think his combinations are anything out of the ordinary. And in all his fights, he seems to do the same thing over and over again. He does step in, step back, step in, step back, throw his combinations. But when he's put under the ropes, when he is the one who's being pulled backwards, when he is the one who's being pushed, and now he has to fight backwards, can he do that? And I don't think he can. I don't think he has the skill set to do so. I think once he's forced to fight backward, if Fulton uses his body, Naoya Inoue cannot fight backwards. He cannot fight backwards. In fact, I don't think I've seen a fight of his where he's been able to use that skill set and show it. So if you're thinking that Naoya Inoue is going to be, if you're talking about his power, listen, bro, he's not Deontay Wilder. I'll tell you that right now. He needs a lot of punches to get in and hurt his opponents. Even the body shots where he's hurt different opponents like Maloney and other fighters, well, he needed a bunch of those shots to hit him over and over again. And Maloney, to me, doesn't mean anything. I mean, Brandon Figueroa was landing really good shots on the whole night against Fulton. He wasn't able to hurt him. Fulton kept coming back, and kept hurting him, and he won the fight. So, yeah, the power of Naoya Inoue, he is a pressure puncher, but I just recommend that you watch a few fights of Gerald McQuillan against Ralph Ward. You're going to see what I'm talking about. Anyway, give us a like, subscribe, and also become part of our community. And, you can, any questions, you can just leave us a comment below. Deuces, I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.